In Sumaira Waseem's eyes, there's a tale of courage and dreams. Growing up in Pakistan, Sumaira found herself at the crossroads of tradition and curiosity.
My childhood just had me going to two places, Karachi and Pindi. It was a very small world and it only revolved around family, a few cousins, and that was really it. I just thought that it had already set a path for myself, so I didn't really have to think much about it and just follow what had been laid out for me. People have different opinions about, well, much of everything, be it political, social or economic, but it's mostly centered around being victims. They would look at companies and people in positions of power in different organizations as just out to exploit them. But I was just a very curious girl, so I kept on asking others and myself questions and reflecting.
That curiosity opened the world for Sumaira, revealing contrasts that would reshape her perspective.
The first time I went abroad, it was to South Korea. It was for a government exchange program. There I could actually see people having the economic power and economic strength and the ability to do more things. They were able to visit museums, they were able to think about new ideas. That just really caught my eye because human potential and human creativity was something that I really desired.
Inspired by that experience, Sumaira joined Students for Liberty and began hosting events back home. She explored free markets and the intricate relationship between religion and economics. But in a place where voicing such ideas posed inherent risks, Sumaira had to craft each event with caution, ensuring the safety of herself and her attendees.
It is dangerous. So you'll still be able to get away with it by organising a few events here and there, as long as you're very careful about it, about how you publicise it, about what words you use, about the event name and event title and the venue and everything. If all of that is sorted, then I think you're good to go. But it is dangerous because people understand that the governments and the authorities don't really feel it's necessary for people to voice their opinions. If I had openly challenged them or openly challenged ideas with words that were really strong and forceful, then that could have easily landed me in a very precarious situation.
Sumaira's events were more than just lectures. They were acts of bold defiance, evading not just the government's gaze, but the watchful eyes of the very institutions meant to foster free thought, the college campuses.
So I was mainly avoiding the attention of faculty members, really the government eye, because if word had gotten out, they would have either questioned the origins of these ideas, so possibly they would have traced its origins to SFL, and they would have kind of blocked it, or in one way or another stifled it.
And then the unthinkable happened.
So it was on 15th August that the Taliban actually claimed victory over the American forces. We had only 5 or 6 coordinators from Afghanistan back then, and I actually lost contact with them for a good 2 or 3 weeks. I wasn't able to contact them. I was frustrated with the idea of not being able to help them in any way because I had grown attached to them. I had this responsibility of taking care of both the Pakistani coordinators and the Afghan coordinators. And so when this happened, it drained me a lot because I then felt how helpless I was. But then after 3 weeks, I was able to contact 2 coordinators. I did feel much relief when they replied back. But with the rest of the 4 coordinators, I wasn't able to contact them at all. So I have no idea how they are right now. So I'm completely clueless still at this moment.
In times of profound uncertainty, Sumaira's commitment never wavered. She stood by her coordinators, and amidst the turmoil, glimmers of interest began to surface.
So I just focused on my 2 coordinators. I mentored them. So I also didn't want them to stay in the country because I knew that it wasn't safe. One couldn't leave, the other was forced to stay. He had family there, a huge family there, so he couldn't really leave. But unexpectedly, in November, we received, I think, about 40 or 50 applications from Afghanistan. I do not know how that happened. But I do assume it was because of either those 2 coordinators or because of a conference that was organized by Students for Liberty.
This spike in applications marked a growing hunger for knowledge, and in the shadows of the Taliban rule, every interaction was a delicate balance of sharing knowledge while safeguarding identities.
But it was really hard because it was completely online. We didn't share the names because after events or during events we're supposed to take screenshots. But I would always make sure that the faces of my coordinators weren't really visible and their names wouldn't really appear on the screenshots, because then I was told by a few people that they did believe that they were under a risk. Considering that, I didn't post anything on social media.
Sumaira's heart remains anchored, finding solace in her unwavering belief and the small ripples that she creates.
I think it really says much about human potential. You basically are caught up and between two options, either hope or despair. For our country's futures, it's always been very uncertain. It does get to you. It really does get to you. But then again, you see people still standing up. You see people doing what they're doing. They're living their lives, really. You don't really need to be a savior of 100,000 people. All you need to do is to know that you're on the right path and that what you're doing is helping others, helping yourself, and making sure that you really hold true to your values.